Hi, I'm Lynn Mann, presenting to you Outlook 2010, Getting Your Email Organized. Microsoft Outlook 2010 is a wonderful application that allows us to communicate with one another. If your email inbox looks anything like mine, you probably have a lot of communications, some that you want to keep and some that clutter up your inbox. Today, you'll see a few ways of getting your inbox under control and manage future emails. Microsoft Outlook 2010 gives us numerous ways of looking at our inbox. We can say how we want the layout to be. We can change some of the settings. We can arrange our emails in a certain way. But before I go into that, I want to talk about the most important thing when sending out emails, the subject line. Here we are in my inbox, and as you see, right now I have 4,281 emails in my inbox. You can imagine if nobody put a subject line on, it would just be a complete mess. But I can tell you, I do have numerous folks not putting a subject line on their email, and it makes it that much more difficult to, number one, figure out the importance of the email before reading it. Secondly, if I need to go back and find something, I remember who sent it to me, but I just don't remember which date they sent it to me. Not having a subject line does not help. So what I would encourage everyone to do is this is one thing you can control. Every email that you send out should have a subject line, and you should create a protocol on what that subject line is. For example, when I send out an email, I work for multiple departments, so number one, I put which department this email is in relation to, what it is that my subject is, and then if there's any needed by date, I include that in the subject line. That way the reader can see, oh, it's coming from this department, this is what they want, and this is when they need it by. It makes it very, very easy for them to organize and mark importance on their side, as well as when they reply to my email, I have some inkling as to what that email is about. For example, if I scroll down in my inbox, I can find, let's see, here's one. Here's a perfect example. This is from one of my book publisher representatives, and I requested a desk copy from them for one of my instructors. So my subject line is SJC, that's the location, CIS department, what I wanted, and when I needed it by, or what term it's for. So then when Stacy replied to me, I can go ahead and get that back from her, and I know exactly what it's in regard to. I don't suggest putting multiple subjects in one email. For example, if I need a desk copy from Stacy, and then I need to discuss something else regarding the publishing, and if I need this, it makes it too confusing, and for her to organize and set it up in her importance level if my email talks about way too much stuff. Plus it'd be a long email and nobody wants to read long emails. So try to limit an email to one subject matter if you can. So let's talk about the layout, the look and the feel of it. Right now I have my email set. I'm going to click on View, and you'll see that my view is set to compact. That's the default, compact. So it gives me a viewing window. I can have this reading pane here or not. I can have it to where it has the subject line on it. Okay. I can also change it to single, which it's one line, so it gives me from, subject, received. I would need to probably squeeze down my reading pane just to be able to see everything. So if you prefer this look where it's all on one line, you can change it to single. You can also look at preview. What this does, it gives you a little idea of what is in the email. And you see, it doesn't do it to all the emails, just some of the emails. Okay. I don't particularly care for that preview. So I actually like compact. Compact is fine. or single. The other thing, which is really cool, under View Settings, you can choose which columns you want to see. So right now I have the importance, believe it or not, I have a little importance there, which is this first column, and any of them marked with an exclamation point means that they're high importance. The down arrow means that they're low importance. A reminder if there's any reminder set on them. The icon to show if it's been open or not. The attachment, who it's from, the subject line, when it was received, the size, and the category, and if there is a flag. Well, I really don't need the size, so I can remove that one, but perhaps I want, okay, who's CC'd on it, if there's any CC, and I can move this up to where it's, let's see, right here, and I say OK. Say OK. Now I can see if anybody else was CC'd on the email. You may want that field to show. If you don't, you can go back to View Settings, Columns, and remove the CC just by saying Remove. You can create a new column if you want. But generally speaking, I do like to know who it's from. I don't necessarily need a reminder, so I can remove that. Just trying to clean up the look and feel of my inbox. I do want to leave the categories. I want the flag status to stay. And I do want the subject line. So I want to keep everything else, but as you see, this cleans it up just slightly. I might or might not want the attachment, but it is nice to see if there's an attachment there. So the other thing I want to show you is in View Settings, a really cool thing is when you go down to Conditional Formatting, you can set up a rule, and right now I'm going to add a rule. And I'm going to say it's to me, and the condition is if it is sent to me only. So right here, the only person on the to line, okay, I can say OK. If I have only items that are unread, only items that have attachments whose importance is, you can say high importance. But I actually just want to say if it's to me, I want the font, instead of the default of black, I want it to be blue. And I say OK. Okay, I'm going to set up one more rule, one more conditional formatting here. I'm going to add. I'm going to say CC to me. And I want my font. I'm going to go ahead and change it to green right now. Maybe this darker green. Oh, well, that's too hard to see. So yes, maybe a fuchsia. There we go. And in the condition, I want it where I am CC'd with other people. That's fine. And then I'm going to set up one more where I want it to me and more. So if there's more than one person, I'm going to change this to, let's say, not to a teal. I'm going to say OK. Where it is to line with other people. Why am I doing this? Because when I set all of these colors, here's what happens. Now, remember, the blue was to me and only me, so I know that is a conversation they're having with me. If it is teal, it means that I'm included on the to line, and if it's in magenta, I'm on the CC line. It helps me organize importance and which email I'm going to reply to first. So right now I have 92 emails that I need to get to, and if I'm the only person that it's coming to, I probably should get to it first. It also depends on what the subject line is. So the other thing we can do to help us organize our inbox is to show these emails as a conversation. So that again is on the View tab. In Conversations, you just click on Conversations. And I just want it to this folder, not all my folders, just this folder. What will happen is Outlook puts these emails instead of where they're sporadically in the inbox, because of course Maybe I sent out an email and somebody replies, and then I reply, and then maybe a day later they reply. Instead of having them all spread out, here's the conversation with Stacy, is that the first email we had was in May, and then I sent another one in August and August again. Now it's in a conversation to where the whole entire conversation is in one location. This helps me keep everything in track. And you can see that anything where there's an arrow are more emails underneath it. So let's see if I can find a nice conversation here. So if I can expand this conversation, there's a few other people that are involved in that conversation. Here's another one, several people that are involved in that conversation as well. So it's all in one location and you can follow the conversation quite easily. Now we can also view our email depending on the categories. Right now I don't have any categories set. On the flag start date, on the flag due date, all I have to do is say click on it and I can say okay, right now it's as a conversation by date. But let's say I'm trying to figure out an email and I know who it's from, but I don't know when they sent it. So I can arrange my email inbox by from. And now I can see, okay, I remember it was from a gentleman by the name of Bill Bergen, will say. Now I can scroll down to Bill Bergen's emails, and somewhere in here is the email that I was looking for. So that is arranging it from. I can also say a category if I have categories set. Categories will all be on top, but I have no categories set. If there's any flags, I can organize it by flags. Again, the flags will be on start. So right now there's flag no start date is on top. Here's flag date set to today. Those are all been accomplished, so those are all checked off. And so those are the only two areas that I have, but I can quickly look at all the ones that have no start dates or look at the ones that were due in essence today, or if there was a start date, and see if there are any that need to be looked at. But I actually prefer by date and with conversations turned on. So let's review what I covered. Setting a standard subject line allows us to organize our emails going out as well as the replies coming back in. We can change the look of our inbox. We can show our email exchanges in a conversation, and we can also apply color to emails to highlight the ones that are important. In essence, if it was directly to me, if they have a specific tagline, to a CC, or more than me. Microsoft Outlook 2010 allows us to build a folder structure so we can get organized. If we are going to keep emails, we really shouldn't keep them always in our inbox, and we shouldn't use our deleted items as a storage location either, especially if you're like me and your work email is controlled by your IT department. They could go through and delete your deleted items without even talking to you first, and if you use that as a storage location, they're gone. So we're going to discuss building a folder structure and setting up some favorites. Right now we're in my inbox and I have over 4,200 emails in there right now. They don't all need to be sitting in my inbox. In fact, a lot of these are just cluttering up my inbox and I want to file them away. I don't want to delete them, but I need to file them away. So what I'm going to do is start building some folders. So under my inbox, I actually have one folder already built. So this is how I did it. I went to Inbox, right click, and I say New Folder. And I want to give my folder a good name. So let's say these are for desk copies. And I say, okay, so now I have this cool little folder structure building. And let's say another one I want to say are Instructor Inquiries. Say okay. So I have a couple folders already, but how can I move my emails into this location very quickly? Well, I'm going to use my search bar. So I'm going to type in desk copy, and any of the subject lines or any internal portion of the email that has desk copy will be searched and will be the result of that search. Okay, it looks like the search is done and it brought back 80 items. I'm not going to select all 80 items and just dump it in the desk copy folder because some of these might not need to go into the desk copy folder. Most of the ones that do have the desk copy in the subject matter would in fact go. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this first one selected. Then I'm going to hold down my Control and select any of the other emails that I would like to send over. So here we go. I'm going to scroll down, and it looks like there's a few more that I can move over. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is just drag and drop those emails into the desk copy folder, and they're gone. I'm saving them for a rainy day in the event that I need to go back to the desk copy information. I just click on my folder and you see they're all there nice and neatly. Okay, back to my inbox. And let's say instructor inquiries. So again, maybe I want to do a search for questions. So, and this is going to pull up quite a few. So this search, just by the use of the word question, brought back 791 emails. I may want to do my search a little bit more specific if I want instructor inquiries. But what I could do is I can say who it's from, and that would help me because I know who my instructors are. And since I know who my instructors are, I'll scroll up and just clicking on a few of them that I do want to move over. Actually, all of these can go over. And I would just drag them over to instructor inquiries. And again, this is cleaning up my inbox. And I would go through my inbox doing searches, moving them over to folders. Now let's say I wanted, okay, instructor inquiries are great, but that folder is going to fill up very rapidly. So maybe I want another folder underneath the instructor inquiries and say it's a question about schedule. So now I have a folder underneath the inquiries, and I can do a search in my inbox for schedule, perhaps. And again, that's going to pull up all the emails in regards to schedules, and I can pull out the ones that should go over into the folder schedule. I do this because my inbox gets so cluttered. I mean, 4,200 emails is ridiculous if I'm trying to find something, but the best thing I can do is build a folder structure to be able to save these emails. But the other thing, if you don't need to save it, don't save it. I've got a lot of emails that I can immediately dump. So I'm going to sort it by from, and I do know a few of these emails from ZDNet. I do try and look at these, but for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to click on ZDNet and hit delete. Again, ZDNet, I'm going to say go ahead and apply that. Again, YouTube, I don't need to keep all of those. I've already viewed those. And I can go through my inbox and at least get rid of those emails that I don't need. Just by going through my email, I was able to clean up my email down to 3,300 emails. That's about a difference of 900 emails. I would go through this process of adding folders, but let's say I have a folder that I'm going to build a new folder. I'm going to say junk. I'm just going to call it junk for now. And if I actually did not want this folder, or if I ended up putting emails in here and I didn't need the emails and didn't need the folder, what I could do is click on the folder, right click, and I could say delete the folder. I could also rename the folder, I could copy the folder, but I want to delete the folder. And I say yes, and now my folder structure is nice and neat. The other thing that we can do with the folder structure is later on I'm going to show you how to create rules. So immediately emails that come in will go immediately into these folders. But again, this is to declutter your inbox. There's no way I can know exactly where any of my emails are if I have 3,300 emails in my in-bin. The last thing I want to chat about is junk email. So Outlook does have junk. We can block a certain sender, never block the sender, block certain domains, and then never block groups. And I can also have junk email options. For example, if I have a person that's bothering me or I know it's specific junk, I'm just going to choose one person. Here we go. I can say block this sender. That way the sender can't even send me emails. Or I can say junk filter is not available for us because we're on an Exchange server. But you could go through and you could say, do you want hi, most junk email is caught, safe list only, who are my block senders, who are safe recipients. This is very tough because you might miss somebody and they would not be on your safe list. Safe senders, again, easy enough to do from my contacts, but what if a long lost brother contacts you? Well, that's going to go to junk email because they're not in your contacts list. So if you are going to set up your junk email, be sure to, instead of just deleting all your junk email, go through it periodically and make sure that there's something that didn't escape your view. And then what you can do is you can click on that email and say you're safe. Again, right click and say safe. But that's the junk email. One last thing. We have an area called favorites, and which is really cool because if I don't need to get into this other folder structure very often, but there are a few things that I want to get to frequently, what I can do is, let's say this desk copy folder I get into all the time. So what I can do is I can click it, drag it up to my favorites, set it down wherever I want it, and it's still here on my folder structure, but now it's under favorites, so I can get to it at all times. Same thing with, if I want my sync items, I can put that up there. Let's say any RSS feeds that are my favorite, I can drag and drop into my favorites. And then what I can do is close this main folder structure, collapse it, and now I have only my favorites showing. And if I want to delete any of my favorites, I right click and say remove from favorites. It's still in the folder structure. I want to make sure that I want to be very clear it's in my folder structure. Likewise with, here's desk copy. If I right click on the desk copy that's under my favorites and I say remove from favorites, it's still in my folder structure. It's just no longer listed on my favorites. Likewise, if there's anything here that I do want to remove from my favorites, I can. But usually unread mail, sent items, and inbox, and maybe one or two folders that you get into all the time because you're dragging and dropping in that all the time, would be perfect setup for a folder structure underneath the favorites. So let's review. We managed our folder structure by adding folders and deleting the folders. We moved emails into our folder structure. We also sorted our emails and got rid of some emails to clear out our inbox. It doesn't make sense to have a ton of emails in your inbox if you can't find anything. So the folder structure will help us organize and make our inbox more manageable. Adding items to our favorites makes access a lot faster. Microsoft Outlook 2010 has the ability to tag our emails with certain items, such as labeling it with a category, a flag to follow up with, and by default it actually already has being read and unread. So when an email first comes to you, it's unread. If you open it, it's marked read. But sometimes we want to change that. Even if we've read an item, we want to mark it unread, so we'll go back to it. So let's see some of these tags in action. Right up here on the Home tab in the Tags group, I'm going to start talking about read and unread. By default, when an email comes in and you have yet to open it, it is marked with a closed envelope, meaning you have not read it. But what if there's an email that I've read already and I may want to go back to it later and just mark it unread so I'll read it again? What I can do is highlight the email, go ahead and click on read unread, and now it marks it unread again. Or I can mark it read. Here's the other thing you can do. When you sort it by unread email, I can highlight all of my emails that are unread and mark them read just by clicking on all of them. But I actually need to keep these as unread, so I'm going to remark them as unread. The next thing I want to chat about is categories. Categories helps incredibly when you want to, 1, sort by a certain category, 2, get your attention, and it also goes over here in your task under certain categories. It will list what categories you have. And you see, I do have some categories. And in fact, if I expand my categories, you'll see I have the ones that I use a lot under my quick access. Or if I want to see all of my categories are listed here. And I use these all the time to catch my attention, to be able to sort, to be able to filter, to be able to move emails to certain folders to get them out of my inbox. Yes, I do have about 3,300 emails in my inbox. I just haven't gone through and put I haven't gone through my inbox and organized it recently, so I do have quite a few items in my inbox. So what I want to do is I want to show you how to use these categories in 2 different areas, not just your inbox, but also in your contacts. So first and foremost, here's an email. I know it's about scheduling, so I can go right into my categories, right click, and immediately will give me the categories that I use most often. So here's schedule. So I can mark it as schedule. Here's the power of marking with the categories. If I click on categories, it sorts it by categories. So here's all of my scheduled emails. Here's my budget request emails. Here's my BBDev. You don't need to know what that is. Tasks, textbooks, any personal that I have down here. So I'm going to go ahead and do from again, and I want to make sure my view is on date view. Okay, so I can go and I can mark these with certain categories, but what if there's a category that I need but I don't have? Again, I select whatever I want to select, go to categories, all categories, and I can create a new category. So I'm going to call this new category. I can select a color. They give me quite a few, about 25 different colors. I haven't used this orange one very often, so I'll select orange. I can use a shortcut key if I want. I don't particularly use shortcut keys, so I'm going to not select one. And I say OK. So now I have this new category. It's selected. Well, it's new category, but it also could be something else. So I could mark several different categories. So I've marked it 3 times. It gives me 3 different categories, and I can sort it that way. So this email will go into 3 different categories if I sort it by category. It will not only go into new category. So let me scroll up. So I have, let's see, this one's under syllabi, it's under textbook, and it's under new category. So let's see if we can find new category. There's textbook. campus all clear. Syllabi, campus all clear. And new category, you know what? I don't see my new category. Oh, there it is. I have to expand it. There's my new category. So I can see that it's gone in all of these. If I happen to put a category on there that I don't need, I just go back and deselect it. Or I can say categories, uncheck whichever one there are, or the easiest way is say clear all categories. Now that email doesn't have any categories on it. Again, I'm going to change my view to date instead of categories. And you'll see I have lots of flags on my emails. This means I need to do something. I need to attend to something. So I do mark with flags, and the way that you can do it is, number one, you can select your email. You can go up to follow up and you can select a specific day. So if it's today, tomorrow, this week, next week, no date, it just means, hey, you need to attend to it, but there's no date. A custom date, so I'm going to say custom date. I want to follow up. I want the start date to be tomorrow and the end date to be the 26th. I do want a reminder. Remind me at 9 a.m. we'll say. And it's just going to give me a quick sound. So it will just ring. It will ring and pop up and say, hey, you need to do this follow-up. I can say, okay. But if I don't need this flag, I can right-click on it and say clear flag, or I can mark it complete. So I'm going to say clear flag because I don't need that flag. If I have gone and done something, I can quickly click on it and mark it as off, as I've accomplished that. And you'll see it also comes off of my task list over here. Or I can even select it over here and say, I've done it. I've completed that task. This helps me keep organized in terms of I can sort this by flag and say these are the flags that I still have left. And I can go through and say, okay, I've done this task, I've done this task, I've done this task. And I can click on it and say it's done. Or I can reset the flag, add a reminder, or set it to a custom date to where, let's say it's due next week instead of tomorrow. So it's not a high priority for today to get it done. So this keeps me organized as well. So let's review. We were able to change a read setting to either unread or read. We can apply categories. We can sort by categories. We can create new categories. We can set the flag on our email and organize our tasks by flags. We can also sort by category, flag, read or unread. This all helps us manage our inbox. Microsoft Outlook 2010 provides us a way to move or delete emails before they even get to our inbox. By setting up rules, we can manage the influx of email by moving incoming emails to folders before cluttering up our inbox. We can also set rules to alert us when we receive an email from a specific person, like our manager. Let's see how to build and run rules. There are three parts to building a rule. One is the check condition. So we're going to set up a rule to find out, okay, is it sent from a specific person? Does the subject line contain something? Does the body contain a word? The second part is we need to select an action. Do we want to move it, delete it, mark it, categorize it? What do we want to do if it does meet that condition? And the third thing is, does it have any exceptions? So, is it sent from a specific person but it's carbon copied another person? So is there an exception to the rule? Okay, let's build a rule that checks to see if a specific person sent me and only me an email. So for example, Bill Bergen, let's see if he has sent me specifically any emails. And I'm going to build a rule to do that. So on the Home tab, in the Move group, I'm going to select Rules and create a new rule. Number one, depending on what email you have selected, it usually gives you the From, Subject, and Sent To areas of the email that's selected. Sometimes that's the email you want, sometimes not. As it happens, I did select one from Bill Bergen, so I do want it from Bill Bergen. I do not care what the subject line contains, but I do only want it when it is sent to me and only me. So what do I want to do with that? If I do find an email from Bill Bergen is sent to me, I want to move it into a folder, and right now I don't have a folder. So I'm going to go into my inbox and say a new folder, say Bill Bergen. Okay, so now I have a folder under my inbox by the name of Bill Bergen. I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to say OK again. This gives me an option to run the rule. So I'm going to go ahead and run the rule, and it will take about, depending on how many you have in your inbox. Right now I have 3,619 in my inbox. So I am going to go ahead and run the rule. And for you, I will skip ahead. Now let's see what the rule did. Right now I have 3,439 in my inbox, so definitely it did something. So let's check the Bill Bergen folder. And yes, there were 180 items that were moved to this folder. Here's the key about this rule. Now, for future emails that are sent from Bill Bergen and sent to me and only me, they will immediately go into this folder to where it won't clutter my inbox, and I can see which ones are new and which ones aren't. I'm going to create a second rule. There is this no reply at msjc.edu. And the subject contains new announcements, and then a lot of other stuff, but the other stuff usually isn't the same. And I don't want to just send all of my no reply to the trash because it might be something that I do need to look at. So I'm going to create a rule for the sender to be no reply, in the subject have new announcement, and I'm going to move all of those directly to my trash can. So again, on the Home tab in the Move group, I'm going to go to Rules, create a new rule, and since again I had that email selected, I can say it's from no reply at MSJC. And since the subject line changes, I'm going to get rid of everything but where it says New Announcements. And I want to move it to a specific folder, and my folder is going to be my deleted items. I do have an option of permanently deleting it versus just sending it to the trash can. I am hesitant to dispose of anything permanently without looking at it. So if I send it to the deleted items, I can at least look at it and see, yes, do I need to delete it, or no, I don't. I'm going to say OK and say OK again. And I'm going to run this rule right now. I don't need to run it. I can hold off till later, but I'm going to go ahead and run it because again, this is to organize my email and get my inbox a little bit more, less clutter with emails that I don't need. Okay, that rule is done. So I'm going to just check in my deleted items. It found 7 items and sent it to the deleted folder, and I can look to see if I need to see any of these, and I don't. So I'm going to go ahead and clean out my folder and say yes, I do want to permanently delete them. Now, occasionally we want to be alerted if someone particular sends us an email, for example, our manager. So what I can do is set up a rule that will specifically alert me when an email comes in from my boss. So what I want to do is go to Rules, create a rule, and I want to go to Advanced Options because I want it specifically from a person and I didn't select their name. So I'm going to say, well, number one, Since it automatically adds the person's email address, that whichever email I'm on, I just want to edit the rule description because it's not from GStack that I'm concerned. She's not my boss. So I'm just going to click on it and I'm going to find my boss. There she is. So I can get rid of Ginger Stack and I can say from Joyce Johnson, and I want to say next. What is the action? Again, what do I want to do with the message? I want to play a sound perhaps, and I can find the sound just by clicking on a sound. And there are lots of them. These are all the built-in media. And of course you want to double check whichever one you want. I can also display a desktop alert. That might get my attention versus playing a noise. I say, okay, is there any exceptions to the rule? Maybe if it's low importance, then there's an exception. So perhaps if the importance is low instead of normal, I don't need it to alert me. I say okay, and I can call whatever I want this rule, and I say finish. So now when my boss sends me an email, not only will I get a chime, I will also get an alert that pops up and it says, oh, you need to attend to this because it's from your boss. Okay. Occasionally, we want our incoming email to have a category attached to it immediately. Maybe there's something in the subject line that can prompt a category or a flag or something like that. So this gives me the ability to create a rule with a specific either person or subject line, and I can assign it one of my categories to where it does that automatically. So I'm going to pick one, just a handy one. This is from a committee. I'm going to say rule, create a new rule. Subject line contains the IPRC, anything with that. I'm going to go advanced options, and I want to assign it to a specific category, and since I have some categories already built, I can click on category, and since this is committee, I can say it has to do with the committee. Say OK. Say next. What's the action? Well, I'm assigning it a category immediately, so I don't really need to do anything else unless I want to put a flag to follow up. And right now I don't. So I say next. There's no action I need to take, and there's no exceptions. So I'm going to run this rule on my inbox already, and it should pick up this one email. Let's test to see how many of these IPRCs have been marked. So I'm just going to filter it or sort it by categories. And I can see that it did find 2 emails with IPRC in the header or in the subject line, and it did mark it as committee meeting. I'm going to resort it by date. Now there are times where perhaps you have your rules set to run at specific times and an email may have slipped through without getting caught by the rules. So how do you run your rules without creating a rule? You would go to, again, your Home tab, your Move group, Rules, Manage Rules and Alerts. And you'll see a couple of mine have errors in them. Number one, I'm not on my normal machine, therefore it's not picking up some of my folders, and that's why it does have some errors in it. But I'm just going to ignore that. So basically what I can do is select any of the rules that I want to run. And so I have a few, and I just say Run Rules Now. They will only run the rules that I have selected. So it's going to, again, now I've selected some, but it is asking me to go ahead and select which ones I want to run. I'm going to Run Now. Now that's going to take its moment. It's going to go through my whole entire in bin, and if it finds anything that it needs to attach to that rule, as in a category, or move to a specific folder, it will do that when you're running your rule. Whatever rule you set up, it will run. Once it's done running your rules, you can just close out your Run Rules Now and your rules and alerts. I can say cancel there. Let's review. Rules help us organize incoming emails. It also allows us to manage disposing of unwanted solicitation. So that would be a rule like in the subject line or from a specific organization that you can go directly into the trash can. Rules also help us stay up to date with information coming into our inbox. So let's say it's from our boss, or if we need to assign it a category to specifically catch our attention, we can do that with rules. With Microsoft Outlook 2010's Quick Steps, we are able to automate some repetitive and common tasks. What I mean by this is we could create a template for an email with already the addressees and a subject line, and with one click of a button, it already is there. Likewise, if something is repetitive like forwarding emails to a specific person or team members, we can forward an email. We can even file things using these quick steps. So let's build a few. Now I will show you, I have a couple of quick steps that have already been built. I use these all the time. So one would be my a CIS group. If I click on this, it will open up an email, address it, have a CC line and a subject line started for me. So with one click of the button, it has my whole entire group along with who it goes to CC and a subject line. Just one quick click of a button. Likewise, I have two groups that I deal with, so if I need an email to go out to both groups, with one click of the button it sends it out to all of these folks. It saves me a boatload of time and it keeps me organized because, number one, I won't forget who to send it to. I won't drop a name off the list because they're already there on my list, and it's not trying to figure out, oh, which distribution list does this go out to? It's already addressed. Another one is I do use a distribution list. It's RDS committee, so somebody else maintains that, but I do have an email that is already addressed and has a subject line. I love these quick steps of building a brand new email with these quick one of a button. I also have one that will move emails to a specific folder. So I'm just going to select an email here that looks like it's a good one, and I'm going to click on the button and it says, hey, I've used this first. Do I want to move it to the folder? I say yes. And it immediately moves it into this U of W folder. I click on it and there it is. So you can see how quick these quick steps are. Now, let's go ahead and build some. So I'm going to create a new quick step. Again, there's a quick step to create a quick step, which is really cool. You just click on New. You name your quick step. So I'm just going to say, oh, perhaps demo. I'm going to choose my action, and there's a whole bunch of things I can do. I can move to a folder, copy a folder, delete the message, permanently delete the message. I do want to make it very clear that you need to be careful about permanently deleting messages. Always on the safe side. If you delete it, it goes to your trash bin, and then you can check later if you need it. But if you permanent delete it, that's it. Change the status. You can set an importance. You can mark a category. You can flag a message. You can create a task. So let's create a task, and with text of message perhaps. And I'm going to say finish. So now, here's my demo. It creates a task, and it has some nice information in there just from the email that I selected. No. All right, I'm going to go ahead, and I don't want to keep this, so what I do is just right click on this quick step and I can say delete. create another one. This time, again, I'm going to just call it demo for demonstration purposes. This time I want to forward. So whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to forward messages, and I want to add an action, and I'm going to perhaps forward it with a set importance of high. And I'm going to say finish. Well, first I got to forward it to a person, and I'm actually going to cheat. I'm going to say myself, and I haven't tried this, so I'm going to just try it for demonstration purposes. I'm going to finish. So I've selected an email, and I'm going to click demo, and lo and behold, it's going to send to me with high importance, and I send it. And there it is. Kind of neat. These quick steps are very quick and easy. I can also, let me delete that one because I don't need it. I'm going to create one more, and this time I'll just leave it as that, the quick step. I'm going to create a meeting. Who does the meeting go to? So for example, if I already had a distribution list, I could do that. If I'm not too sure who it goes to, or I need to select from a list, I can do it using my global address. So I'm just going to select a few names. Okay. I'm going to show options. So I could put a subject line in here, meeting CIS group, where if it's the location is always in one place, importance, and some text. Please contact me regarding this meeting, perhaps. And I can add an action. Maybe I want to categorize this message as a meeting, and I say finish. So now when I click on new meeting, it immediately opens up with the to line filled out, the subject line filled out, the location, and now I can choose start time, end time, and that. Since I don't need it, I'm going to say delete that. Now again, I've created some quick steps that I don't need. So I am going to right click on the ones I don't want. I can say delete, and also the demo, delete. There are some default ones that's reply and delete. So if I had an email that came in, I can immediately reply, but the original email would be deleted. Again, be careful when you're deleting things. Let's review. Quick Parts allows us to create multiple actions at the same time to email messages. It also allows us to manage our mailbox by moving emails to specific folders with one click of the button. It also allows us to automate tasks, like as in set up meetings and create tasks from email content. In short, Quick Parts allows us to speed up our life and stay organized. If you enjoyed this video, here are a few more that you might want to check out. Until then, I'm Lynn Mann. Be seeing you.